Hello, Culture Matters podcast. Here's a quote just for this episode. The world is not yet crazy enough to reward a whole bunch of undeserving people. Charles T. Munger. Charlie Munger. The world is not crazy enough. I've been thinking about what it means to consult, the purpose of the advisor, the trusted advisor. Why on God's green earth would I position myself as a culture architect? What does that even mean? How do I perceive that? What's the difference between an executive coach, a consultant, and an advisor? People have different takes on these designations, these ways of describing different constituents in an organization, different people. I'd like to clear some of that up. Some use them correctly per definition, others incorrectly. What are the definitions? How about that? How I see them. Why does professional services even matter? First, I'd like to start with competitive advantage. I think information is opportunity. Information is opportunity. I think as a business grows, as a business changes, morphs, adapts, and responds to its environment, to the economy, to competition, to itself, as it relates and reflects back to itself, meaning it's to the people that started the business. It changes them as much as they change it. It's like Churchill. We build our houses and they build us. As business adapts and changes to its environment, information flows through it by degrees. An organization that information flows, let's say 5% of its potential flow, is that going to be a less successful company organization than an organization that has information flowing 95% through it? Imagine like a body where only 5% of your blood is flowing through your body. Which body will be more effective for for the human being? The body where 95% of the blood flows, or the body with only 5% flow? That's how I'd like you to think about knowledge and information flowing through an organization. Organizations get clogged arteries just like people. And those arteries get clogged, things start breaking down. Part of the purpose of the helping professions, whether it's the executive coaches, it's the motivational speakers, it's the consultants, insert whatever niche, whether it's the trusted advisors, whether it's, I mean, you could insert the helping professions, those on the outside, the informal mentors, the teachers that people that work for organizations at whatever context of hierarchy leave the auspices of their office or the comfort of their homes to go and take a course online or in person or hire a tutor. They're seeking information that will alter how they capitalize on the opportunity sets before them, how they relate to the world, what they see and how they see, and that they can or can't see. Their behaviors, their habits, their rituals are influenced by the information that they ascertain, that they process, that becomes them. And I'm saying they, them a lot. I, me, you, us. We are they. we learn. We're always learning, even if it's just the same thing again. Every day we wake up and we learn again. Maybe we learned the same lessons that keep us exactly where we are. Maybe we want to be farther than we are, so we'll have to learn new lessons. So the purpose of the helping professions is to help. It's exactly what it sounds like. To help, to further the accumulation and action upon knowledge. It's to further that accumulation, that integration, that action upon knowledge. And when it comes to an organization, the organization's arteries get clogged. People help to unclog them because the more that clogged they become, the harder it is for every other facet of the human body to do its job because the whole body is connected. Everything is connected to everything else. And the helpers help. They provide input. They provide information that is then synthesized throughout the organization. And basically, information becomes potential to act, potential to change, potential to adapt, potential to. It's almost like the energy has a potential to convert into something useful, right? That's where I think that's where value is created. It's created in each conversation, each interaction, each team meeting, each huddle, each state of the union, each podcast. I'm going to talk about some definitions here. According to the internet, an executive coach is a professional who helps leaders improve effectiveness, self-awareness, behavior, decision making, communication, and leadership performance. The etymology of coach, this one is fascinating. It comes from Kos, a village in Hungary. In the 15th century, the village became, so it was Koks, I guess. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. In the 15th century, the village became famous for producing horse-drawn carriages. The carriage was called Kochi, eventually becoming coach. The original meaning, a vehicle, excuse me, the original meaning, a vehicle that transports a person from one place to another. Coach was never originally a teacher. It was a transportation or right, a movement, a bridge from current state to desired state. A coach helps move a person from where they are to where they want to go. So think about this on an individual level, helping leaders improve effectiveness, self-awareness, behavior, decision-making, communication. That's Think of an executive coach as the relationship between the, like, there are many different types of consult, but let's say organizational consultant looking at the organization at holistically, systems, organization. A coach is doing that one to one. Professional coach helps improve effectiveness, self-awareness, behavior, decision-making, communication. That individual, they're going from point A to point B. What is their potential? Can they go beyond their current state, their current role and responsibility? Or let's say someone gets promoted to the a higher role and responsibility. Well, if they got promoted to a higher role and responsibility, then you would think that then they would be least capable of living up to it based on having a previous, maybe maximize their previous role and responsibilities. Now they've been promoted up to a greater level of needed effectiveness, maybe different, to be effective at different things or more things, more of the things they already were. That's a challenge to them. They'll, what impact will that promotion have on their self-awareness if what they're doing is different? How about the behaviors necessary to live up to that, or how they make decisions, and how they communicate in that new position? So executive coaches help people go from where they are to where they need to be per role, maybe where they want to be, depending on who hires them. Advisor, a person, here's the definition, a person who offers guidance, judgment, recommendations, and perspective to assist decision making. So, advisor offers guidance, judgment, recommendations, and perspective to assist decision making. Etymology from Latin, ad. So, the ad means toward, and visum or videre, meaning to see. Toward, ad, toward, and visum or videre, to see. Toward, to see. The deeper root relates to one who helps another see. This is one of the most beautiful origins. Tell one who helps another see. Oh man, no wonder I'm naturally drawn to founders because founders must see. They're in the highest position. They're in the highest position, the position of paradox. If you're at the highest, at the same time, the organization lives up to your standard, lives up to your behavior, lives up to what you value. So you're in that's a seat of contradiction. You're highest, but at the same time, you have to be at the lowest at the same time. How do you actually do that? No wonder it's a seat of contradiction, but you must see. So the advisor, one who helps another see. Advisors are not the one who makes decisions, but they are someone who improves sight. They see something another cannot, or the counterpart cannot. Think of an advisor like a telescope or a magnifying glass, binoculars. The relationship with the advisor increases vision. People can, depending on the context, have a microscopic, be able to see things that are infinitesimally small, or maybe see things that are uh, an unbelievable distance away. The advisor helps another see. Advice. The etymology to advice comes from, oh, I just lost that. Avis? Is that what it says? Yes. Old French, avis, meaning opinion, view, judgment. Latin roots related to seeing. The word advice literally connected to perception. Not authority, not expertise, but perception. Wow, that's fascinating. Perception, advice, opinion, view, judgment. When we're in positions of authority, our judgment has consequences for others, consequences out of their control that they have to have the ability to respond to the effects of our judgment, our view, our perception, our perception. Um, executive. Executive, the etymology is exequi. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. To carry out, to perform, to accomplish, carry out, perform, accomplish. Executives are people responsible for execution. Thus, an executive coach helps those responsible for execution become more effective executors. Well, that makes a lot of sense. The executive coach helps them with their self-awareness and their decision making and their ability to communicate and helps them move from point A to point B and from point B to point C or whatever. So an executive coach helps those responsible for execution become more e- effective executives. So I didn't share the consultant right here is consultant. A consultant is someone who provides expert advice, analysis, recommendations, and sometimes implementation assistance to help solve a problem or improve a condition. Etymology from Latin consultere, meaning to deliberate, to consider, to seek counsel. which comes from consulere, consul, consulere, um, meaning to take counsel, to ask advice, to consider carefully. The key insight, a consultant was originally not someone who told people what to do. A consultant was someone who entered into a process of joint deliberation. The original concept was collaborative thinking, not expertise, but thinking. That's fascinating. The classical consultant that's the concept of collaborative thinking. Consultant was originally not someone who told people what to do. A consultant was someone who entered into a process of joint deliberation. So think about that. The people, that the founder needs to see. Now, if you look out and you see the whole battlefield, there are multiple options of where we could move our men and what formations and what resources, based on the resources we have or could have or don't have, that impacts where we go and what and how. So where to allocate men. If you're looking at a war, a battle, and the general is looking out at the whole battle, and right before them, they have certain amount of troops with X amount of weapons and different kinds that are trained at various levels in different to make different formations and are set up in different groups. And they're based on all the live things that are happening in that battle. They could have had a plan before and prepare for that plan and train for that plan and had the resources for that plan and had a breadth of relationships between the men and the various leaders within that plan. And as soon as that plan is in reality, change is occurring, and the response of the army to live feedback, to live information will take place. So there's going to be multiple options in a battle, and who's helping, how are those choices being made? There's a thinking process to do so. And that's in a battle. What about after a battle? Because then there's a war. It's not just a battle. There's a war would take place. Within a war, there's many battles. So if you lost the last four, did you lose the war yet? Not necessarily. Or if you won the last 10 battles, it could be one battle away from losing the whole war. The consultant helps the thinking process. Okay. The consulting as a definition is a practice of helping individuals, groups, organizations improve outcomes through analysis, advice, recommendations, and guidance. Philosophical observation, the word itself implies thinking with rather than thinking for. That's why I think there's an art to consulting that so much of, if I speak personally, my time is spent reading, reflecting, writing, listening, and interviewing people in the Culture Matters podcast, listening to people offline, thinking with people offline, a lot of thinking, a lot of reading. The majority of my time is not with client partners and not with clients in the trenches, in the foxhole, thinking with them is thinking alone. Whether I'm alone with my thoughts, thinking with myself, or thinking with the eminent dead, as Charlie Munger would say, in books, or yeah, having conversations with people that are no longer with us, or people that I don't know personally that their thinking is in the books. So the practice consulting, drop that. I don't know where that went. Oh, consulting. Yeah. So it's the practice of helping individuals, groups, or organizations improve outcomes through analysis, advice, recommendations, and guidance. Um, the advice thing piece there about to helping another see is fascinating to me. Without the vision, the people will perish, as they say. The word itself implies thinking with rather than thinking for. That distinction matters. I think it matters because if you think for, it's the least amount of energy between point A and point B. If you think with, point A and point B, person C relating to person D, discussing point A and point B, if person C is thinking with person D about the relationship between point A and point B, there's more energy in between point A and point B. Even if the distance is the same, the amount of energy between those two distances will be greater. There's more calories used. There's and potential for more for the content have more energy, not empty calories, but weighty calories. That's where the quality of conversation comes in. Eh, and that's where the content comes in and context. And it kind of like builds exponentially. That's why I think the most, the person that's invested that's why how many hours of thinking time for the advisor, for the consultant, one that's putting themselves in a consultative process with clients, it's part of the helping profession. Every interview I do on the Culture Matters podcast adds up. Every monologue, every book read, every book stopped and not finished, every essay written, every book written, every client deliverable, every minute spent learning and interfacing and experiencing builds this it builds this energy that the professional has the potential to extol into that next client and actually bring even more energy out of whatever that whatever that client's potential is on a personal level from an executive coaching standpoint, on an organizational level, from a consultative standpoint, from a founder level and an advisory standpoint, or some combination. Good consulting increases a client's capacity to think. Shout out to 30 Days of Thought, which is a book's purpose of helping people think for, with, and through themselves. Bad consulting creates dependency, where the people cannot think absent the their counterpart. Advisor, we talked about that. That's what I wanted to cover today. A little, some of these definitions, and you know, I think, and I did mention, here's where I want to end. A powerful third party can change the trajectory of a company in ways that it may never even comprehend. The same way an education can alter the trajectory of an individual in ways that they could never even comprehend because it could be at the very core of whoever's listening, who you become. Your education is you. You are it, and it is you. There are things. It's like a culture. There are things that are they're deeply embedded. Invisible ties are the strongest of threads. So the relationship that a strong uh, the relationship between the recipient and the giver, the provider and the recipient, whether that's executive coaching, whether that's advisor to advisee, consultant to consultee or consulted, or some combination. That's the question. Can someone do all of them? I think, yeah, in theory, of course, yeah, sure, of course. Context will reflect that, and there are different capabilities for each. Um, But I think the relationship between the service provider and the recipient can be transformative. It's like, and is transformative, even when it isn't realized that it is. It's Carl Jung, the meeting of two personalities, like the contact of two chemical substances. If there's any reaction, both are transformed. I'm going to talk more about these aspects of not only Culture Matters and uh, the podcast and the various helpers and the helper professions I have on the show and or builders, entrepreneurs and founders, executives, leaders, and so on, investors on the show, but Culture Matters is as a consulting and advisory firm, works with founders, helping them grow their organizations, create opportunities they otherwise see and are unable to execute on or can't see, haven't yet seen, and um, are then in positions to execute on those opportunities as a proud provider to entrepreneurs and organizations. We'll see you next time on the Culture Matters podcast.